Before I get started, I'll put on some of this gloves in a bottle, which is wonderful stuff. Keeps my hands safe from any chemical that might be going on. Whatever style you establish in your painting, and you may establish any style that you like, the watching public, the art observing public is very forgiving. They'll let you establish almost any style you want. But once you've established a style, that is a general atmosphere that your painting exists in, you must remain consistent with that style. And one of the common pitfalls in, especially if your style is like this is, very painterly. One of the common pitfalls is, what do you do when you have some skinny little lines in your drawing somewhere or in your painting somewhere, and it's quite important that these skinny lines show up. Do you see that could be a problem? Because there are no skinny lines in this style of painting. Everything is kind of loose and so forth. But occasionally there are some places where you have to have some thin lines in order to render. And in fact, I did an example right here while you were watching. I painted a sign with letters on it. This is a classic example of how many people will mess up when they are doing a painting, and somewhere in the painting are some letters. The tendency is to take off your painter hat and to put on your penmanship hat. And then instead of painting, you begin to write letters. Can you imagine? Can you see how that would violate the atmosphere of this painting? If I had all loose, and all of a sudden over here I've got letters A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. Do you understand? So one way to get around that, a very important rule, if you will, all rules can be broken, but you need to know what the rules are before you break them intelligently. One important trick, perhaps is a better word for it than a rule, is don't paint lines, paint around lines. Don't paint skinny lines in a painterly painting. Bring one area of color up this way and the other area of color up this way, so that the space in between them becomes the line. I'm hoping that makes sense, and I gave you two examples of it right here before I explained it. There are stripes on this awning, right? What color are the stripes? Blue? No. The stripes are light colored, right? And they're fairly skinny. How did I paint it? By painting the skinny lines? No, by painting the blue fat part in between the skinny lines. If you didn't get that example, I'm sure you can get this one. Here is a sign with letters on it. How did I paint those letters? Did I get out some light-colored paint and come in here and write A, B, C, 1, 2, 3? No, I didn't. I took my big fat brush and I painted between the letters, you see, so that it allows me, both of these examples allow me to keep my loose painterly feel without violating. Let me say that again. It allows me to do skinny lines without violating my loose painterly feel. So don't paint lines. Paint around them. I use this technique extensively when I'm doing tree branches. Is another place. Power lines going through the sky. Again, if your painting is loose and what I call painterly, I think that's a fairly common term in art school. If your painting is painterly, you don't want to come. How could I give an example here? Let me pick up my palette just for a second. If my painting is very loose and painterly, and I want to draw some power lines through this sky, can you see that a power line drawn like that is rather out of keeping with the rest of the painting? There's nothing else in here that has that kind of, there's some lines, but they're loose and wiggly, you see? So one good way to paint power lines is to do a scribbly line like that, and then come back, and I'll show you this later in the oil painting stage, and paint the sky close to that and close to that, so that the skinny line, but I execute that skinny line in a painterly manner. I hope that wasn't just as clear as mud. Stick with me. I'll be demonstrating that more and more as I get on to the oil painting stage of this painting.